Or it was just like,
Oh
one-
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, hello, I have a 5 head. I can put all my fingers here. Okay. Like let's just
oh my God.
never hit it. Okay. Um, let's get started. Welcome back. Freaking scary. Holly and Mallory. We're probably gonna have to do 2 videos.
Yeah.
Um, we are discussing, reviewing, comparing, contrasting Carnival of Souls from 1962 and a remake by Wes Craven, technically by Wes Craven in 1998.
Yeah.
So, do you want to start? Do you want me to start? You asked me to watch these two.
Well, how about this? I will give it like a brief synopsis
Okay.
of the 1962 version.
Okay.
Um, okay, so basically it's old black and white movie. You basically have this girl who gets into a car accident with like a couple of her friends. They go off the side of a bridge. Her two friends presumed dead because they never come to the surface. She comes to the surface. They don't know how she survives it. She's obviously traumatized. She goes and takes a job at a church as an organist, and she
In
keeps saying,
in Salt Lake City.
"Is that where she was?"
Yeah.
I had no idea what city or town.
So specific that it was weird.
Oh, okay. See,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Um, but she's keeps seeing this like creepy looking old man who kind of looks like he's dead
Yeah.
off like in the distance or like out her window or like as she's driving in her car and she's like freaking out. Occasionally like the sound goes out around her and
Hmm.
like nobody pays attention to her, almost like she's in the twilight zone, nobody can see her. um she has this weird obsession with this like abandoned carnival out in Salt Lake City where she's living,
Yeah. Yeah.
and basically she just has these like weird encounters with almost like dead looking people until one day she just disappears and then reappears back where the car went into the water at the beginning of the movie, and she's dead in the car where she originally was with her friends.
Right. So like wonderful plot twist at the end, but the entire movie is basically I is she in purgatory? I don't know, but
Yeah,
that's what I
the whole movie I was like, say what now? Because I didn't get it. I didn't get
yeah.
it. It was so artsy fartsy. I was like confused the entire, and I've seen it twice. I watched it
Okay.
twice, took notes. Don't get it.
And you said it was in black and white. You can actually watch it on Prime. You can watch it in color. I
Hmm.
actually think because I watched it twice too. I think the black and white version is better at capturing kind of the because it reminded me of a Hancock, like The Birds or Vertigo. I don't know if
Hitchcock?
you've
You mean Hitchcock?
Hitchcock. Did I say
Yeah.
Hancock? I'm tired. Let me tell you. Okay. So, um, if you've ever seen like Vertigo or The Birds, it's reminiscent of that. It's got that
Yes.
weird, yes, very artsy fartsy, heavy on the like you as an audience have to interpret what's going on. They don't
Yeah.
give you dialogue, they don't give you plot points.
Mm-mm.
Very, very reminiscent of the 60s. So I went into it like within the first 10 minutes, I was like, okay, I know what I'm getting into. Um, and I thought for sure when I watched the remake, I would like the remake more because it was done like, in 1998.
Yeah, more
No,
modern, probably more effects, better
no, it
script,
was
better story. No.
awful. I'm gonna
God
start.
awful.
I'm just. It was awful. It was
Yeah.
awful. I was so disappointed, and but I want to stay with the first one for just a
Yeah,
minute
yeah.
because
Stay with the first one.
so this woman, she's dead the whole time. We don't know. Wonderful plot twist at the end that they find her body. Um, it had sort of that glass menagerie feel to it, if you've ever like seen that, where or what's that? What was that late time show? Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
Twilight
Twilight
Zone.
Zone. Very Twilight Zoney.
Very Twilight Zone
That
where
was one thing where I noticed right away. So, like in modern movies, they kind of give you like a build up. You kind of have like a
yes.
character like build up where you kind of get to know the character. This went from screen black to three girls in the car, and they're like, "Hey, girl,
Right.
let's race," and you're like, you're there. You're in the
Yeah.
middle of it. Like there was no introduction to these characters.
None.
You just, this is what's happening. Go. You
And
know?
and and here's the thing. That didn't bother me because I knew, knowing like who made it, when it was made, and what was going on at the time, I kind of expected that feeling of like adrift, aloof, like I'm not really sure what just happened. Do I want to even rewind it? No, I'm not going to rewind it. I'm just going to keep watching because it'll all come together, but it'll leave me with questions. That's the Hitchcock way. And that's what I actually ended up liking about the original film, but hating about the second film because they did not capture it the way that Twilight Zone, The Birds, Vertigo, all those, the Hitchcock feel, it didn't capture it that way. It just fell flat on its face.
I mean, I agree. I didn't particularly like the crash start at the beginning of the first one because
Literally.
I was like, did I hit skip ahead? I literally had to rewind because I was like, I must have missed the first like 5 minutes of this movie. No, it just starts like that. But again, like you said, it's the 60s. And it's a horror movie from the 60s. That's sort of how they do it back then. So,
Yeah.
it's forgiven.
What, right, right. So that's what I'm saying. So what I loved
Definitely
about the,
sets the tone. Sets the
yes.
tone for like
Yeah.
this is what's going on.
And
Yeah.
I like that you gave me this challenge because so I've now watched two films I've never seen who are supposed
We'll
to be
never see him
remakes,
again.
which one I'll never see them again. But they're remakes of each other that they're not actually very, the second one is not really a,
Mm-mm.
anyway, I'm gonna leave that there. But again, if you've watched Psycho or if you watched The Twilight Zone, there and that was like really at an era when like they were obsessed with aliens and like alien invasions and
Hmm.
um what was the, the snatchers, getting snatched and like all these
Yeah.
things. So they were really obsessed with that. And the one thing I did absolutely love about both stories, because surprisingly this was the one thing that they kept the same, is that you didn't know until the very end. And you could have speculated
Yeah.
and you could
There
have
was
guessed
foreshadowing, there was like hints, but the
little.
whole time you were like, I don't know for sure. I
Yeah.
really don't know for sure. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until the end that you knew.
And that's what I liked about it. So I appreciated the first one for what it was, for the time it came out,
Yeah.
and it kept true to what was happening at the time. There were funny things in the first one that I wrote some notes on.
I did
This
too. That's what I was looking at right now.
the second one, we'll get into it, but the second one just crashed and burned. It was a
It was
massacre.
it was a crash that lasted about an hour 45, and it was the car turning over, bursting into flames, doors falling off, righting itself, driving 2 more feet, turning over again. It was crazy. It
Yeah.
was everywhere.
I
Everywhere.
literally, Mallory, I literally was falling asleep. My eyes were drooping. I could not stay focused on the
Yeah, I
second
couldn't stay
film.
focused either.
Yeah.
I really
Okay.
couldn't, and I
What
tried.
were your notes for the first film?
Well, I mean, it's just like little things here and there that just because we live in a modern world and I've seen these same things happening now, but in a more modern way, I'm like, that is nuts. So it's kind of silly, but the way they dragged the river at the beginning of the movie when they were looking for the car after it went off the bridge, they
Mm.
were literally using like a fish hook. They
Yeah.
were like throwing a line in the
Yeah.
water from the shore and going,
Like
we can't find him.
how much effort was put into finding these kids? Like really, sir? And there was a lot of men in that film. She was like the only main female, was the main character, and the rest of them were dudes. Did you notice that? Ah, wait, stop, stop. I can't hear you.
I'm telling you, you wave your hand in front of this thing and it goes mute.
Yeah. So I was saying so you have like the main characters of female, and there's
Yeah.
maybe like one other lady, and then they're all dudes.
Yeah, and they're all dudes that kind of look at women as fragile and oh, don't freak out and oh, we have to take care of you, not really listening to her, just sort of like mansplaining the whole
Right.
everything to her. Yeah.
Right. And
But
I
it
don't
was
I'm not even like like a modern feminist, but I was like But then I thought back then in the 60s, women were just sort of starting to be
Become more independent.
alone, have
Yeah.
careers on their own. The fact that so in the beginning of the film, she drowns, right? And then she wakes up and all of a sudden she's going to Salt Lake City to be an organist. That's not weird if you know anything about the LDS church. That's where the biggest organ in the world in the United States is the tabernacle. So she goes up there to play, and they're not Mormon, by the way, but the
They're
guy that she
Catholic or
works,
something.
yeah, I don't know what they are, but it's a very big thing up there to go and play. That would have been very um a very big deal for a young female at that time.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it would no one would think twice if a girl was like, "Yeah, I'm moving to a new city for a new job." So, like
Yeah.
some parallels.
Hmm. Let me see. What else did I see? A lot of my stuff were just notes I took to myself, like, is this happening because she's dead and blah blah blah.
Right.
One of the things I noticed, fun fact, okay, the main character, her name is Candice Hilligoss. Okay, that's her real name. She was married to a man named Nick Coster. Okay. Nick Coster was on a show called Silk Stockings in 1997. Okay, it's like this, it looks like almost like a melodrama type show.
Okay.
And the main character of the 1998 Carnival of Souls was on that same show, Silk Stockings, in 1992. There's like a couple of
What?
degrees of separation here. Yeah, Mary's husband from the 1962 version was in the same show as the main character from the 1998 version.
Okay, that is kind of cool though.
Right?
I did not
Yeah.
know that. I did not know that.
I was
That's
just looking up different things about them, and I was like, whoa, these both have the same like what do you call it?
okay,
Credit. They have the same credit to their name.
but that begs to differ. Was that okay? So, like in Hollywood when they're making films, if you're not kind of a big deal already, you don't get the funding, you don't get the money, you don't get the opportunities, and usually it's a friend of a friend of a friend who says,
Yeah.
"Oh, I met this guy, he's really cool, da 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 da." What's funny about the two directors of the remake is this is like their biggest credit is the one of the worst movies I've ever seen. So, who did they know that got them to direct or to direct this film? Because they were nobodies and they're still nobodies.
I
Like,
don't know.
do you know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
had to make sure I double checked, I Googled that Wes Craven, which by the way, if we didn't mention, Wes Craven executive produced the remake.
Oh, I thought he directed it. I didn't even look at that. I was just assuming he
No,
directed
because
it.
that's okay. The reason, like you did, you were like, I'm going to go check this out. I was watching it going, it's reminiscent of Wes Craven, a couple of things, but it
Yeah.
really didn't have his essence. He just executive produced it, which means he didn't really do anything to like dialogue or directing it or who the actors were or any of that. And it makes sense. And I was like, did they just put his name on it? Because the title is Wes Craven Presents
Mm.
Carnival of
See,
Souls.
that's why I thought he directed it, because I thought, oh, his
No.
name's on it. He's got to be the director. Well, there were things in the 1998 version that I was like, oh, this is so Wes Craven. Like, I could when we get to that, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
But
there's a
I mean,
couple.
that is interesting. I wonder. I mean, I don't know. Like, okay, so I don't know if this person would have very much pull on getting something made 30 years later, but the the creepy guy,
Mm.
what was his name?
The actual ghoul or like the pervy neighbor? Because
No,
let's
the
talk about
pervy neighbor.
the
Yeah, the
pervy
pervy neighbor.
neighbor. And
He
so
was
this
in
is the
both of them.
original. She has a pervy neighbor who literally like sees her in a towel and he's like, "Hey, I'm
Lewis.
coming in." And you're
Lewis.
like,
Oh my God.
"Whoa."
He's so creepy. He's like one of those guys that's like, I'm not a guy that likes to or eat alone,
Yeah.
waiting
You're
for you
like
to like accept the invitation. And you're like, ew.
you're the epitome of read the room,
Yes.
bro.
Oh,
He
he
like
cannot
literally
read the room.
brings her alcohol, brings her coffee and she's like, "I'm in a towel."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was so oblivious. But no,
Yeah.
he's in the 62 version and the 1998 version.
Who does
He's
he play?
he's the creepy creep in the 62 version. He's Lewis, and in the 98 version, he is one of the cops at the very end that pulls her out of the water. He's the older cop.
Interesting.
Yeah, I recognized
I
him right
didn't
away.
catch that. That's cool. But
So I don't
again,
know if maybe he was part of it, but I doubt it because he's kind of a low level actor too. He's not very
okay,
big.
this is what I'm trying to tell you. Again, who did these people know in order to get the budget to make this film with Wes Craven's name on it? Which, by the way, it originally had his Wes Craven's name on it, and then at some point it got taken off. And I'm guessing it's because it absolutely bombed in the box office.
Well, okay, it was released in 98. Maybe Wes Craven was too busy to direct because he was doing something else, like
I
doing
don't
Scream.
know. I
Did
think it
Scream
was
come out then? When did Scream come out?
so
Like
Scream came
95,
out
right?
in 91, 90,
96.
96.
So 96, well, no. But Scream 2 came out in 97. Maybe he was too busy directing the second Scream.
Maybe, but to me, Wes so we've been doing the deep dive on Wes Craven. We're watching his films, right? This to me is not a Wes Craven film. And I'm sad that his name's on it. And if you look at his list of movies, it's not really on his list. It's sort of something you have to kind of go look to see that he was on it, which is why I said I had to go and make sure because I thought he directed it too. He didn't. He just executive produced, which means he wasn't even there. It's just my name's on it.
Probably just to get people to watch it.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. And then it was
Yeah.
awful,
Yeah, it
like
wasn't it
awful.
wasn't very good. So as for the original, I mean, the only redeeming thing was that it was in black and white, and so that alone was like, okay, I gotta forgive all of this for it because the black and white alone made it more, not more creepy, but I guess made the artsy fartsiness make
Yeah,
sense. But
yeah.
the story was, I didn't get it. I didn't really know who they were. I don't even know what a carnival has to do with what she was doing there. Like, what did the carnival have to do with the movie? Because she went there and she saw all those creepy people there. Like, who cares? She could have went to the supermarket and saw all those creepy people there. Carnival, I didn't get it. What does that have to do with it?
I don't know, and it's that's such a valid question because that was one of the things I said. Oh, did I miss? Like, did she go to a carnival? Was she coming from a carnival when she died?
I don't know because they started in the middle of a
See,
thought in that movie.
so it might have been an editing situation where the day she died she was at a carnival because in the very opening scene she's in the car with her friends, the boys pull up in their car and they race like a 19 it's like a 1950s, they've got their big old Cadillacs, they're racing
Like
down the
Grease
street.
Lightning. Yeah.
Yes, maybe they were coming from a carnival and that's why she's stuck in this purgatory with all these ghouls because one of the
It's like a
notes I made
memory.
was, yeah, one of the notes I made was the first film, the creepy man that she sees. So she starts to hallucinate, she starts to see these ghosts. They're like ghosts and ghouls, but they're not creatures. They're people.
No, they're people.
In the second film, they make them like lizard people with like tongues and stuff.
Butthole faces. Yeah, they have
Yeah, like
butthole faces.
creepy and so it made sense that the first film was called Carnival of Souls to me in terms of like all the ghosts were surrounding her. It was a carnival. It was like
Yeah.
a plethora. There was a menagerie of souls. That's what I kept thinking.
Okay, that would make sense. See, that's explainable right there. And it was like her soul was lost, and so they were coming to, because her body was one place and her soul was another.
Right.
So they were coming to get her and bring her back. Because that guy obviously was death, right? He had to be death.
I'm guessing in the first one, yes. So he
Yeah.
had like red eyes. So he's all black and white. but he
Oh,
had
see,
red eyes.
I didn't see red eyes. I just saw the black and
Yeah.
white.
So this is
Oh,
why I say if you watch the color versus the black and white,
mhm.
it's kind of cool because I don't know if they added it later or if it was meant to be, but he has red eyes in the color version,
Okay.
but he's black and white. So
Ooh, creepy.
it kind of added this little like dash of spice,
Yeah.
but yeah, so everyone's black and white and then the ghouls are black and white. So in the color version of the original, it made more sense when you saw it in color. In the all black and white version, there wasn't really a contrast. And I don't even really know how I knew that he was like not alive. Do you remember?
How did I know? I
How
mean,
did you know that that guy and those souls were not alive?
well, I mean, for one, he appeared in her window while she was driving.
Yeah.
You know, he kept appearing and disappearing. And then the fact that he looked like he was dead because he had like the black around his eyes, you know, and
Yeah,
he
that's
was very
true.
like stiff. So, like, and then when she went to the carnival and there was all those people there, it was like, oh, yeah, I think we also saw her friends there, didn't we?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I want to say conjecture makes the movie better because you have to fill in some major holes that today's filmmaking would do for you.
Yeah.
So are we like lazy viewers now where like explain it all to me? That's what we loved about the Twilight Zone and all that stuff is there was just randomness to it. There was just stuff they didn't explain, and I don't
There
know.
was, but here's what you got to think about is okay, this is the start of an era where they're starting to put, well, first of all, things are starting to become color. They're starting to have actual like hearing dialogue, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh my gosh.
so
That's a note I made. We'll talk about that
what?
in a second.
Oh, so what I'm thinking is back in the day before you could like before there was really um like back in the day of like Frankenstein and like Dracula and stuff, the way they told the story was by overacting. Everything was overacted because either you had to read
Yeah.
all the words on the talk or not the talkies, but on the silent movies. So you really couldn't, you didn't really get too much of the story. You just overacted
Like faces and hands
faces
and
and hands and whoa. And now they're going into a time where they're putting more of a story into it, more meat, but they're still not quite there because they're still overacting and not putting enough dialogue, not putting enough story in it. So I think this was just done in like a transition time.
yeah,
Yeah.
on the cusp of like
Yeah.
we're getting deeper because it reminded me of Psycho too.
Yeah. Well, Psycho was later, right? Psycho was a
Yeah.
little bit later. And Psycho didn't have a ton of dialogue, but the story wasn't complicated. It was
No.
just a crazy person and somebody died. Whereas this was a little more complicated. This was
Right.
a little more like hidden message, and it just didn't quite
Right.
hit the mark.
And that but again, after watching both films, that's why I was like, actually, now that I see it, I appreciate the first film. It was a little bit ahead of its time in terms of like the plot twists
Oh,
and
yeah.
do we know what's going on and all that stuff. Um, but in a way, looking back at it, that's what I ended up liking is that this was on the cusp of getting complicated and
Yeah.
films were getting dialogue heavy and acting was getting richer and storylines were getting richer. So the reason I was disappointed with the remake is because we have all that now. Why didn't you make it better? Like why didn't you just take what was there and and like polish it? Like polish that story up is all you had to do.
No, they basically took every single idea that they ever had about any movie they ever wanted to make and shoved it all into this one.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I was disappointed and I'm telling you, I don't consider this a Wes Craven. I don't consider the remake a Wes Craven movie. I don't see him in it. I don't appreciate any if he added anything to it, I didn't see it. So,
I only saw really one thing that I just really like jumped out at me, which when I pointed out to you, you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't see that. But it's a very small thing that has nothing to do with the story or anything. It's just something that Wes Craven seems to always do. But
tell
yeah,
me.
Okay, so this is what I noticed about it. I guess since it has nothing to do with the story. Wes Craven seems to have a leading lady type. Okay, if
Oh,
you think about it.
in my notes, in my notes, number one thing I wrote
What
for
did you
both
write?
movies, always a female,
Well,
always a
yeah,
helpless, beautiful female.
but not just beautiful. She is like helpless in a way. She's just very like fragile, I want
Hmm.
to say. But fragile, but in the long run ends up being super strong. However, I'm referring to the way she looks.
Yeah.
So if you think about Nightmare Before Elm Street, okay, that was like his big first one, his first like really super big one. Nancy from that, she is a white girl, young, shoulder length hair, brown, sad eyes, okay? Then you think about this one. Well, no, then think about Scream.
Mm-hmm.
Nev Campbell, white girl, sad eyes, shoulder length brown hair. Then you think about this one, white girl, shoulder length brown hair,
It never ends.
and even the haircut, like the bangs
Cursed.
kind
Wait,
of in there.
cursed. Cursed.
First, you got
Sad
Chris.
eyes, brown hair, fragile.
I mean,
Yeah.
he has a type. Like these girls could all be sisters. So that's I seen that part of Wes Craven in it, which he obviously has a type. I have no idea what his wife looked like, if he even had a wife, but I'll bet you she looked like that.
That's what I'm
In fact,
saying.
I'm gonna look it up.
That's what I'm saying. So I think part of the reason he chose to executive produce it, I can't read his thoughts, obviously, and he's passed, but
Yeah,
yes, I think the story of young female sets out to make her own life, is fragile, is wounded, is broken in some way, and becomes the heroine is definitely a Wes Craven
yeah. That's
situation.
that's him definitely in it. Yeah.
But outside of that, I don't see connections. I did see a second connection, which actually has nothing to do with Wes Craven, if you're interested in that, though.
What?
So I Know What You Did Last Summer. When did that come out? Do you remember?
Early 2000s. Let me
Okay.
see.
They took a note from this movie, which was, and I say note as a pun, she receives a note. So in one of her hallucinations in the remake, so we're talking about the 1998 one now, she receives, after she's already like upset, she's fragile, things have happened, her mom's dead, all this stuff. She receives a note in a letter, unmarked, no one knows who it came from, that says the fun has only just begun. And she goes to the guy and she goes, "Who left this? Who left this?" It made me immediately think of Jennifer Love Hewitt in I Know What You Did Last Summer when she gets her note.
Oh, that's kind of yeah, that's
Yeah.
similar.
And I was like, you
I
know
know
what?
what you
Honestly, if you are a Wes Craven fan and you watch this movie and now you're a filmmaker, that you definitely stole that
Well,
particular
there was
scene.
definitely homages to him
Yeah.
and his movies in it, which is why I thought he directed it. But I mean, yeah. I mean, I know you what you did last summer was 97, so it kind of makes sense. This didn't come out till
Yeah.
98. So
Well,
it's
it's nice now that we've seen so many to kind of see scaffolding of like certain things that are borrowed, certain things that are borrowed and made better, certain things that are interpreted in a better way, but we're like, yeah, we saw that in one of his older
yeah,
films. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. And I think we really noticed that because we watch his old films over and over and over again. They're
and we take
memorized, whereas
notes.
yeah.
Man, some good stuff, man. I'm so glad we did this one. Okay.
All right, so
Um
Carnival of Souls 1998.
I mean, where do I start with my freaking
Dude,
I have so
I
many notes.
started
Okay.
out in Sharpie, but then I couldn't write fast enough with the Sharpie, so I had to switch to purple ink. I,
You
I
have
just,
a novel. I love it. Well, okay, you have a lot, so you
well,
lay it
you
on me.
tell the plot. You tell the plot of this one.
Okay, so plot of the remake, reminiscent of the first, but they just totally took a left turn. So in
Barely.
the first one, the girl dies in a tragic car accident. We don't know her family history. We don't know anything. If does she have a boyfriend, kids, nothing. We don't know nothing about this lady. In the second one, there's a young girl starts off the movie. And she goes into her house. She lives in this bay, and she finds this man that her mother had been dating, raping her mom. She catches him. She goes to kill him because he has a gun. It goes totally sideways. He kills the mom by breaking her neck,
Yeah.
which that I at first I was like, man, this movie's gonna be good. And then I was like, whoa.
Oh, and then it was
And then so he goes to jail. She has a little sister. It's 20 years later. It's 20 years he's released, and it's the anniversary of her mom's death.
Mhm.
He comes back. She gets in her car. He gets in the back seat. He's got a gun to her head, and he's like, "Ha ha ha! You didn't know I was going to come back for you." Yada yada yada. And they live by the water, so she gets the bright idea. Well, I'm just going to drive my car off into the lake, and then she wakes up. So again, reminiscent a little bit of the
Yeah,
first.
that's where the similarity ends, right
That's where
there.
the
The car
similarity ends.
crash, the water. Yeah.
Um, so again, she owns a bar with her sister, it used to be her mom's bar. We're getting flashback stories of how this guy who is a clown, and I'll get to that in a
A
second,
clown at a carnival.
clown at a carnival. So that part I appreciated because I was like, well, it is Carnival of Souls. Um, Flashbacks of how they met him, flashbacks of her and her mom and her sister, kind of a cool like backstory. And
Hmm.
then a little bit more intriguing because we do find out a little bit more about this lady and her dynamic with her sister and her friends and some things. But she starts doing the hallucinations just like the other lady.
Yeah.
And but these hallucinations are wild. They are not silly little ghosts circling her. These are creatures with like lizard tongues and buttholes and zipper faces. And it's what
Unexplained.
I that's what I'm saying. Crazy. So that's that's sort of the gist of it, but basically it goes on and on and on. Comes to the end. She goes to the carnival. There is
Hmm.
now like a carnival. And she basically goes to the carnival and she's having hallucinations at the carnival, and there's like people following her and then they're not. And then at one point she meets a guy on the dock who's like, I guess death. I don't
I guess death. He's either death or the ferry to the afterlife, which I guess is death, right? Death,
something. He's like the
the Grim
Grim
Reaper, the
Reaper,
Grim Reaper. Yeah.
but he's like a nice guy, and she like kisses him and they like basically have sex on a boat, and then the clown comes in. It's a hot damn mess. And basically the same thing happens is we find out she's been dead the whole time. They pull her car from the water. And then the very end, the sister is standing with the cops, and they're like trying to talk to her about what happened, and like you can't really get, everything's vague and you don't really understand what's happening. And then you hear a phone ringing. And at one point in the movie, she had told her sister, "Hey, this is a phone. You need to call me next time. Da 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 da. You don't think about it again." The very end, she picks up the phone. No one's talking. It's the sound of a carnival. And then that's the
Oh,
end of,
okay, thank you, because that's the part I didn't get. Now I get it. She
yeah.
called her to let her know she's okay, I'm assuming.
I'm in the Carnival of Souls.
Which that would mean she's not okay. Because why would she want to be in the Carnival of Souls?
But but this is where I don't understand both movies.
Okay.
Are they good or are they bad or are they stuck in purgatory? See? I don't know.
Well, okay, so I want to believe that okay. Okay, so the first one, I think her soul was just lost. I think it was lost because she didn't realize she was dead. But in a way, she realized she was dead. Like when you think about it, she didn't want to go visit her mom before she left for her new job, probably because she knew in the back of her head her mom would be like, "Oh, you're dead."
I
But
didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's a good point because
yeah,
subconsciously she knew something was wrong maybe.
yeah, and like how everything like went quiet when she was in the streets, and she was like, "Why won't they listen to me? Why can't they hear me?" Like she
Yes.
probably somewhat knew she was dead, which was why she was running. She was running from the truth. So I think she was just a lost soul that was needed to be brought back and shown the truth, which she eventually is in the end, or at least she's snatched and
See,
taken to where she needed to go.
it seems like the ghosts from the original were there to help, not
Yeah, they seem like
hurt.
helpful, creepy, even though like they ran at her all creepy.
Yeah,
And but what are you gonna do if you're a ghoul? Like you got to be a little creepy. So, but they were like supposed to be helpful, whereas
right.
these ones were very malevolent. But
Yes.
but probably because of who was their leader, which was the rapist clown. You know what I
Which
mean?
is
So that's
which
why.
is why I'm like, okay, you didn't need to do that. It was unnecessary that in the first one she's essentially going to a good place, maybe heaven, I don't know. In the second one I'm like, who, what, are demons after her? She didn't do anything to anybody. She's
Didn't do
not a bad
anything
person.
wrong. Yeah.
And then the guy that she meets that we think is like the Grim Reaper or whoever's taking her, why was he there then?
I think he was there to help her accept the death of her mother, to help her try to move on and face her fears of because here's the thing is
Okay.
she didn't even know that the rapist was dead until she was shown that picture of him, right?
But again, was that a hallucination?
Exactly, because they would jump back and forth to where you would think something was happening and then she'd wake up and then she'd keep
Right.
going and then she'd wake up again back in that old
He
situation that she
and the picture of him dead is how he was dead in the car
in
at
the
the
car at
end.
the end of the movie. So I think that maybe the at the very beginning of the movie where she drives into the water, like that was literally her death. That's what I think. I think that that was a real happening.
Wait, I
That's
just
how he dies.
hold on, I just thought of something though. In the original death, in the first one, she dies with people that she loves. Those are her friends.
Uh-huh.
In the second one, she dies with the bad guy,
Trying to kill him.
trying to kill him, and he's trying to kill her. Oh, I just did it. I just
Yeah.
circled back to it. So he's there because even in death, she couldn't get him off her shoulder.
Yeah. So I think that very first scene is, or not the very first scene, but the very first death of her was her real death. And now her soul is lost because first of all, she has like almost like unfinished business. She always
Yeah,
wants to take care of her sister. She didn't get over the death of her mom because, the guy,
it was horrific.
it was horrific.
Yeah.
Um, she still like was dealing with the bar and stuff. And I think that nobody knew she was dead. I think they were seeing her ghost. And it's why she didn't drown in the bathtub. It's why she didn't like she had that weird experience at the car wash where the car was filling up with water. It's literally a foreshadowing, like that's how she died, and that's how it's
Yes.
coming up again.
And that was one of my notes that I did find interesting in this in the remake. There was water sources
Everywhere.
throughout the entire movie, whereas in the other one there was just the bathtub.
And the organ, which I have no idea what to do, that was everywhere
Yeah,
in that movie.
yeah. But I'm
I
saying
think it's just to be creepy.
it,
But yeah,
like she had the bathtub, she had the water, she lived on the water. She had the leak in her bar, she had the leak in the house. Like
she had the
there
leak in the car
were
during the car wash. Yeah.
yeah, there were some things, but you made me think, oh shoot, I just forgot what I was gonna say. Um okay, you're saying that they saw her as a ghost, but at the very end, when the police asked the sister, when's the last time you saw her? She never answered.
She didn't.
So my thought process is that she she had been dead for a few
Yeah,
days
she had been dead.
and everything else that happened didn't happen.
It happened, but it happened in her journey to finding peace,
Yeah.
which is why the Grim Reaper was there. Why
Interesting.
they had to have that porny sex scene, I don't know. That
I
was so
mean,
graphic.
okay, we've talked about this a lot, like sex scenes, boobs. It's a thing. It's a thing in horror films. But it was so bizarre and he almost didn't want to. Okay. If you
Didn't
watch
want to
this,
kiss her at first. Yeah.
so she goes to
Kissing
kiss
him and
him
he's like,
and he's like, like like he felt bad for her is what I mean.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, awkward.
he
So
was just
awkward.
like, and
It's like,
then he was ripping her clothes off, and I was like, wait,
yeah.
is this like
I
what's that movie with Nicolas Cage? City of Angels. I was like, is this like a fallen angel? And all of a sudden he's like, ooh, this
oh,
feels great. I'm
that
gonna do
feels
this.
great. I didn't know. Yeah, no, I think the beginning part was him. I think when it started to become more sexual is when he was turning into the rapist clown, because in the end he's
Oh,
yeah.
and now that you say that, why did he turn into the clown? I thought they were separate things.
Um again, I don't know. I think it was just her fear doing that, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe it was taken over. Maybe he took him over, because really the Grim Reaper kind of stayed at the edge of everything. He really didn't interfere in too much. He was just kind of like there in the distance.
True,
So
because the first time you see him, he's sitting in the bar, but he's in the corner and he
yeah,
just
like all by
smiles at her.
himself.
And
Yeah.
we never know who this guy is at like he only makes like 3 appearances in the whole movie.
Yeah. The
Interesting.
One Tree Hill dad, one of the he was like the
Yeah.
basketball dad or
Yeah, he's
something.
a good-looking dude. But again, this is why I'm like conjecture is what these movies are about. What we think has happened versus what someone else it has think has happened is what I think they wanted. I just don't think they did it well.
No, because they put too much in there. Like if they would have stuck to the story of her not knowing the difference between reality and her, either her hallucinations or her reliving whatever happened to her, they would have been fine with that. They would have been fine with just the bad guy being the rapist clown coming back to get her. But because they added in the butthole, like weird skinned people, they added, which I don't even know who they were. What were they?
Like their faces zipped open and they had lizard
Yeah.
tongues and
Yeah.
it made me think of like Little Shop of Horrors. Like
It made no sense. It was they were there for the thrill factor, but they didn't thrill you. They just made you go, "What?"
okay, question then, because we've talked about this now. So both films I do think were on like the cusp of old making versus new filmmaking with new resources, new ideas. The
Yeah.
1998 one, CGI was becoming so much better. Like
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff was happening. But you also had like Chucky, Little Shop of Horrors, Goonies, those kinds of movies where the cornball situation worked because they worked it for the movie. So like if you ever seen Chucky or The Bride of Chucky, right? It's ridiculous. But it's meant to be.
Yeah.
This couldn't decide whether it wanted to be ridiculous or serious.
And I don't think they were even trying to be ridiculous. I
No.
think they thought that they were being serious the whole time, but it was coming off as ridiculous.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It
Yeah.
it absolutely it in the right hands would have been a great film. In these two bozos, and I say bozo because you can come for me, okay? The two guys that directed it, I looked them both up. This was literally like the thing that made them famous or the thing that put them on the map. And then neither of them have anything else to their credit. And I just find that kind of funny. Like whose best friends were these?
Yeah, right. I never like it when there's multiple directors, multiple like several writers. I like movies that has one director and like maybe two writers,
Yeah.
one person that was like the writer and then the screenplay person,
Yes.
because
Oh, yes.
oh what?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off because there's two directors and there's two writers for this film.
Too
So
many visions. Too many visions, too many ideas. It needs to be one director who says this is how we're going to do it, because even if he does it the whole wrong way, it's one line of thought.
yes,
Yeah.
one vision throughout.
Yeah.
This is why we've talked about modern films being so bad. They have too many hands in the jar. They have
Yeah.
too many directors. They have too many ideas. They have too many editors. Pick a couple of good people and stick with your vision.
Hmm.
because that's what makes this is why Cameron, what's his name? Cameron Crowe? No, what's his name? Titanic
James,
guy?
James Cameron?
James Cameron. This is why James Cameron is phenomenal at what he does. He literally saran wraps his idea and that's it. This is the vision I'm
Yeah.
sticking to hardcore. And he reuses the same people, he reuses the same actors, the same things go on and on and on and on. And maybe in some people's mind that makes it harder, but his success has shown that's how you make these amazing films. Who else? Who? What's that? What's that? Scorsese. Martin Scorsese's the same way.
Yeah.
He saran wraps it. He bubble wraps that baby up. He doesn't let nobody touch it or defile it or redirect it, and he
Yeah.
sticks. And that's why his films are out of control good.
He's a
So,
hard ass, but he's like, it's my way or the highway, and his
but
is the right way.
but if you have that much money and those many people to employ, you have to be a hard ass. You
Yeah.
don't have the time to hold anybody's hand
Mm-mm.
and say, "Oh, well, your direction matters." No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. This is his film. He's directing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I feel like my caffeine is kicking in and I'm getting a little bit passionate. Um, I want to talk about something totally bizarre in the second one,
Okay.
the red balloon and the clown.
I mean, the red balloon, what? She's seen that at the beginning of the movie when she was with her mom, right?
She had a red balloon in the beginning at the
Yeah.
carnival. When he came back to get her, there was a red balloon attached to her car.
Okay.
I think there was one more instance of a red balloon, and then the fact that the bad guy is a clown.
Yeah. What
Were
about it?
we borrowing some very iconic ideas at this
Oh,
point?
right. Like Pennywise. It could be. It could be. I mean, when did it come out? The very first one. It was in the 80s,
Oh,
something.
way before this.
89, yeah. Something like that. So for sure. For sure. I mean, they borrowed a lot from a lot of places.
Yeah,
And it was just too much. It
it was
was too
way
much.
too much.
Yeah.
Okay,
You know
I
what's funny is I the thing that made me laugh about the lead character is when she was smoking a cigarette. I swear to God, she smoked that cigarette like she's never held a cigarette in
oh
her
my
life.
gosh,
It
like a
was like,
jailbird, like a man on death row who's like his last request was a cigarette.
but it was so stiff. It was like, it's like it's just all like
I'm
she
guess yeah, I'm
smoked
guessing.
it late.
Yeah, I'm guessing she's not a smoker because
I'm guessing that.
she didn't even blow the smoke out.
Funny.
I've never smoked either, but I've watched a lot of movies. I know how people smoke.
Yeah.
That's funny that you brought that up because I that bothered me too. And I was like, she's smoking like a mother of four that just got off her night shift at the hospital.
But like, but oh, I don't know. It was just awful. It was just awful.
Okay, let me talk about why in the first film, and this may just be like totally production situation, why were the voices so tunnel and like quiet, sort of? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The,
Like there was no resonance to the voices like we see in movies now. Like the actual audio of the first film bothered me because it was like tunneled. Does that make sense?
well, I do. Yeah, I noticed that too. The only music that was really in that movie was the organ. And then everything else was dead quiet.
Super quiet, like no leaves rustling, no kids playing, no I just thought about it because she's dead.
She's dead. Yeah.
I
That's
just
that's what I assumed it was.
wow, I'm like discovering stuff as I think about it. But it's funny, like I said, it's now that I look back at that film, I enjoy I didn't enjoy it because first of all, it's not a scary movie. It's not like a
The first one, I mean,
not
no, it's not really scary. It's
it's a
no,
it's a mindy,
it's a
psychological
thriller, I guess, in a way, a very tame, I don't know if I'd call it thriller, suspense, a little bit of suspense. It's a horror movie. It's obviously meant to be a scary movie,
right.
but I mean, it's not, it's
I encourage you to watch it in color. It's a different
I don't know
experience.
if I could do it a third time.
I know, listen. But even if you just watch the scenes with the ghosts,
Oh, that would probably make a difference. Yeah.
it it translates something that it didn't have before, which I kind of enjoyed. So I was like glad because I saw both of them and I was like, ah, I'll watch both the colored one and the black and white because I love a black and white film.
Yeah, me too. If it's
I
done
think
right.
they can.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I think mostly I was like, oh, I said both movies have that disconnected feeling. And at first I didn't like it. And then I realized, like we were saying, it's because they're dead. So all the noises, the sounds, the essences of things are not present. I
Yeah.
think that was purposeful.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too.
Yeah.
There was a couple of things that I noticed in the remake that were Wes Craven. So, do you remember that part where she like walks through the giant door and she's dressed as herself as a little girl? She's got like the blue dress on, and like there's like everything was like oversized to indicate
Yes.
that it was when she was young. That was very Wes Craven-y, very Nightmare on Elm Street.
Hmm.
Everything was like oversized and kind of like askew, where it kind of made you
Yeah.
feel like something's wrong.
Like a dream world or something,
Like a dream world, very dream world, which was like his huge movie, Nightmare on Elm Street.
which is
I
like
could
one of my
see
all-time
that.
favorite.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things I noticed. And then again, the creepy guy, John, from the first one, he was the policeman at the end. Um, let's see.
Yeah, I think it just in a weird way the first one was more looking at them both side by side. The first one was more magical, not magical. Uh it was more gosh, the only way I can explain it is if you've seen the movie Vertigo. And if you've never seen that movie, it's hard to explain, but it's this very like aloof sort of like they're filming in a circle and the characters in the movie don't know they're being filmed and the people watching the movie don't know what's it,
Yeah.
but it's meant to be that way. I don't know how it's like fantastical for the time that it was
Make,
filmed in. It's fantastical. The second one had none of that. It was like watching a teenage soap opera or something.
yeah, it was. It was badly acted. It was the script wasn't horrible, but it was just the acting wasn't great. The story didn't really make sense. The effects, the little twists they put in there, the little scared, what do you call jump scares,
Hmm.
didn't make sense. And it just the things that were happening to her did not fit with what I think they were trying to say.
No.
I mean, I figured it out. I'm like, oh yeah, all the water refers to her drowning or dying in the water. But like you really had to find that for yourself. And whilst I don't mind a movie that makes me think, I don't want to have to really dig. If I gotta dig, if it's not
Right.
relatively obvious, like you're not getting your point across.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. In the right hands, even the remake could have been so fantastic.
Yeah.
And in these guys' hands, it
It
did
fell flat.
not say it again.
It fell flat.
Fell flat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the best word. Like it was just so flat and slow moving, even with the suspenseful
Even with
parts.
all of it in there, it was so slow and it just felt really long.
I wanted to take a nap the whole entire time. I was begging myself to stay awake.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about in the remake though, the little old lady. There's one scene.
Two
Sh-
scenes. You see her twice. The
Oh,
old lady
twice.
from what's it
Yeah.
called? Wedding Singer. Why
Uh,
has she been 85 years old her entire life? What the heck?
it's okay. I'm so glad you said that because I remember watching the scene and I was like, this lady was 80 in 1980. How is she 80 now? And it made me think of oh, what's that black actor that we love from he's like in every movie and I'm not talking about Samuel L. Jackson. I'm talking about oh gosh. He's in Bruce Almighty. He plays God. You know what I'm talking about? What is his name?
Can you hear me now? My microphone was muted.
Yeah, oh, I didn't even know. Okay. What is it?
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman has been 80 years old for 80 years.
Well, no, because okay, he has aged, but yes, he has definitely been in his mid 40s to like early
For
70s.
like 50 years. He
This
was
late.
he was in Robin Hood and I swear he was 40. And then he was in Bruce Almighty and I'm like, what is he, 50 now? It's been 30 years. Okay, but tell me, you would know better than me. She's in other scary movies. I recognize her.
Well, I think you recognize her from The Wedding Singer. She was Robbie's piano teacher or singing teacher or something.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Literally looks the same. She has the same haircut, literally the same person. That's why I was like, "What the heck? How is this lady this age?"
But isn't she in other scary movies? I mean, she's
Now I have
so
to see.
recognizable as like, oh yeah, that, like there's a handful of older women that you and I have seen in a bunch of scary movies which we love.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, maybe I'm thinking of the lady from Poltergeist that's like, Carol Ann, Carol
This house is
is
clean. Yeah. Let me see. What is it called?
I don't
Wedding.
know. But that was kind of a fun little scene because I think seeing an older person, so she walks in on this lady to get a pump for her pipes, and this old lady sitting there with her dog, and the lady doesn't hear her at first and then turns around and then the lady is like, oh my gosh, like the lady knew she was dead. That was one of the scenes where I was like,
Oh,
all
really?
right, we know she's dead, the lady gets it. The dog barked at her, which we know when
See, I
dogs
didn't get
bark.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't get that from that.
Hmm.
Okay, so she's been in a lot. This lady died at 101.
I told you.
I mean, she was literally 80 since the 80s because she died in like 2015. She's been in a lot of comedy stuff because she's really funny. She actually has really good comedic
Yeah.
timing. I'm trying to see.
She was like an anchor character. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a someone that we trust and we like to see. Like when we watched the remake of or Jeepers Creepers and the older lady that's in Jeepers Creepers, you and I are like, "Oh, but I loved seeing her." Like
Mhm.
she was someone I thought I could trust and then she was like, "Oh, you're a ghost." So,
There's just certain people that certain actors that when you see them in the movie, you're like, yes.
that's what I'm saying. And it's funny because it's only in our world, it's like scary movies. If I see this
Yeah.
old lady in this scary movie, it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she at least her part will be good. I mean, honestly, she's been in so much.
yeah.
She's been in The Golden Girls. She's been in like Designing Women,
She's
Murphy Brown. Like she's been
what
in
do they
everything.
call those? They call those working actors. They've just done film
Character
after film
actors.
after film. Yeah.
Character actors, right? That's what I
Um, no, a character actor is like Johnny Depp doing the pirate thing.
Oh, okay.
A working actor is just someone who has like 100 films under their belt and they just do films. They just take whatever roles come their way and they do them.
Oh man, well
And they
she's done
just
a lot. And I'm sure she
okay.
every one of them.
I think we can wrap it up because I feel like I touched every point I want to make. Bottom line,
Yeah. The main point is you really don't need to watch this
don't
movie.
watch them.
Yeah. I mean, you could I would suggest seeing the original because it is the
Yes.
original. It is, one of the first well, not one of the first, but like a classic,
Yeah.
even if it's not very great. So watch the original, but you don't need to see the second. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. And just in case we didn't say it, the first one is not a Wes Craven film.
I don't even
Um,
know who directed it. Didn't even look.
no, but it took me on a foray to look up movies that he has directed. That's a whole nother list we could talk about. But bottom line is, if you want to sit there and make conjecture and make up the storyline for yourself, watch these two films. If you're like us and you're like, please tell me what's going on because this is ridiculous.
Well, when it comes to a scary movie, like, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's supposed to be pretty simple.
Yeah.
Like, scary.
Scary
And
demon, scary guy,
yeah, somebody
scary.
dies, something like that. That's what we're there for. We're not there to like interpret this like Space Odyssey 2001 or like Solaris type movie. Like, I'm not here to learn, fellas. I'm here
Yeah.
to see blood and guts.
But I will say, uh, sorry, that's my old lady take your medicine alarm. Um, I will say this. Um, if you do like Hitchcock, if you like that vibe, it's a good movie along those lines. It didn't hit the mark exactly, but it could be a nice addition to like any of those films that you like coming from there.
It's Hitchcock adjacent and then a
Yeah.
hard left.
And then just but like write it out to the end and it's okay. The second
Yeah.
one should be burned and banned, and their children should have to pay us back
For it.
for making us watch that film.
I can't believe you bought it. I watched it for free.
So I didn't realize it was on Tubi for free, but it was only $4.99. So I was like, well, I'm out
Only
$5.35.
could have gotten a burrito for
And
$5.
let me tell you what, this is the last of my fat, huge coffee that I had to drink to get
Oh.
through the second film. But I'll let you sign us off. But I'm glad we're watching all of these films that are out of our scope. They really have started to kind of influence me in other directions of like, oh, I see why they made that film and I see where this director was coming from. And I feel like I'm becoming more professional.
More well-rounded,
Yes.
more well-watched.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, honestly, like the only reason why I even saw the original Carnival of Souls was because, you and I had talked about like we need to branch out. We need to stop watching the same seven movies that we love over and over and over.
This was on your C list.
This was on my I didn't even know it existed list.
Yeah.
So, because what I had done was I had literally turned on HBO, gone to the horror section, and I said, okay, I'm going to start from the very for A through Z. I'm going to start, and whatever movie I haven't seen, I'm going to watch it, no matter if it looks stupid or what. And I had seen whatever the A's were, a couple of the A's, and then I got to B, and I watched Barbarian, which we need to talk about because I don't know
Yes.
if you've watched it yet, but I love it.
That will be our next one
Oh, okay.
for
And then the
sure.
next one after that, literally after I watched that movie, there may have been like one more. I think it was like Blair Witch, which I've already seen. And then it was Carnival of Souls. And I was like, all right, let's watch it. And
But
that's how I seen it.
but it was good. Like that was a good one, not because it was good, but because
It
it
led us to Wes Craven's
yes.
Carnival of Souls. Yeah.
Yes. Again, I wouldn't call it Wes Craven's Carnival of Souls, but it's on his list and we did say we're going to do Wes Craven. So
There's a
yes,
sprinkle of him in there, but yeah, it's
we'll do
definitely.
Barbarian next time.
Yeah.
I think
That's
that'll be exciting.